Hey everyone, this is Andy with the Coffee of the Geek program. It is December 2017, and we need a lot of coffee today because it looks like we've got our first snowstorm of the year. So I'd show you the outdoors, but it's looking pretty scary out there. But white Christmas, we love that. So it is the Kyle Kitchen. I like saying it like that. And a technology integrator, Canada. Well, actually, Kyle, maybe can you introduce yourself a little bit and say where you work, what is your role, and maybe your background as well, and then we'll talk about the Kinders with Code website.
Sure.
So welcome.
Thank you very much. I wasn't sure if you were the geek with the coffee or if it was me, but I'm always prepared like you are, I'm sure. So yeah, my name is Kyle Kitchen. I work for the District School Board of Niagara. I've been there for 17 years. It's just the kind of the Niagara region of Southern Ontario. We have a large geographic area. We go from Fort Erie all the way almost up to Hamilton, so it's a widespread area. I was a 5th and 6th grade teacher for 10 years, and then I got onto a specialized team for our board. It was funny, we were originally called the SWAT team of technology, where we would swoop in, help everybody, and then we would swoop out and like build that capacity. We changed to the IT for Learning team, and I've been with them for the past 7 years. It's an amazing team because it's a collection of experts. So we actually have 2 e-learning people. We have 3 tech people, we have a consultant, there's myself, and then we have 2 educational assistants with our inclusive technology. So we all work together. Really great team that kind of goes out in the field, and we support teachers in the classroom, outside the classroom. We support them in schools. We kind of do it all. We're kind of like the MacGyvers of technology to help everybody out.
And did you say where your background is, your early teaching?
Early teaching, it was interesting. I have always been part of small schools. So I taught 6th grade at a small country school, and then I went to a even smaller school, which was just kindergarten through grade 6. So my background before I became a teacher, I went through for clinical psychology and actually have a minor in world religions. So I went from that to teaching, which, clinical psychology, teaching, it's really not that different, truthfully.
That's fascinating. That kind of role, and I laugh too because was a biology major, so I've come a long way from teaching biology. Actually, I never taught biology, so fun ways how we've got there. When I interview people, usually 9 times out of 10, no one came out of college thinking they were going to be a tech integrator, right? I mean, I don't even think that title was around up until maybe. No. Maybe even 5 years ago, we really started calling ourselves tech integrators. So to see that progression. But one of the things, first of all, I guess to give us some background on how I met you, my colleague, your wife, Melanie Kitchen, I interviewed Melanie as one of my first Coffee with a Geek interviews. So I think it's time to bring her back and see what she's up to, because she's always kind of a good sounding board. You're lucky you have that person to bounce cool ideas off. And also, we met at the Canada Connect conference, and you did a really great keynote there, which highlighted just a lot of ways. And it wasn't just about technology. And that's what I liked about it, is you really kind of incorporated a lot of ways in which you not only work with kids to do, things like, STEAM, STEM, maker type, initiatives and creativity and play. So I like that keynote, and I love it. The Canada Connect conference has really become one of my favorites. It's a nice way to meet and see new people and make the connection. We're lucky because we live, New York, Canada is an easy jump over to Ontario. So can you talk just quickly about your role in Canada Connect conference and what it was like being a keynote, and maybe a little bit about your work just based off the keynote?
Definitely. So I've been involved with Connect for a long time, being part of the DSBN, and then we had Brock and lots of people involved. It was interesting for the while there. I was doing lots of presentations, to the point where it got to one year, I believe we had 7 presentations. Me and my cohort at the time, it was interesting because we actually only had 3 presentations, but when they kind of didn't show up at the last minute, and it was really awesome because we could actually go in and we were honest with the people and said, oh, we're not here to teach because it's not our presentation, but we're going to do it anyways. And so we kind of jumped in and steamrolled from there. And I've been in like very close association with everybody involved, and it finally came out. I honestly don't even remember how it came out that I was going to do a presentation on the big stage. And I knew I wanted to do something different, but also kind of what I was passionate about. And if you look at my Twitter feed, you rarely ever see me in my Twitter feed or what I've done. I'm always taking pictures of students and what they do, because they're the ones that kind of inspire me. So I kind of came up with the concept of what I thought was important, which I called the experience of three. And surprise, it's 3 C words, but it's not the typical C words we see, like the 6 C's. So for me, it was about creativity, courage, and connection. And I want teachers and students to build that experience, that one moment that kids are going to remember forever. And it may not be the moment you necessarily had planned to do, but I truly do respect educators that are risk takers. They want to try something new, and they're not fearful to try it, and they get down with the students. Yesterday, we were doing a huge coding event, and to look around at my teammates and the other teachers, we weren't watching from afar. We were sitting and getting dirty and getting markers all over us, and it was fantastic. And to me, that's truly like where my passion is to inspire other people, to see how they inspire me, and just to build that experience. So I thought it would make a great talk, and I had tons of pictures to show, and even my own kids, every day they're doing stuff. My daughter, I call her my maker, because she's always tinkering, she's playing, she's crafting. My son has a campaign, a foundation for wild endangered animals that he bakes cookies to sell for. And that just inspires me just to do what I do. And that's kind of what came out of that Connect Spotlight. And since then, it's been great. People have been contacting me, and just like, it's not even asking me for help, but it's just that one question like, hey, what do you think of this? And to me, that's the best question in the world, because I think, and you've been in the meetings too, where when we have that freedom just to say, hey, what about this? That's when the great education comes around, and that's when we start building and sharing ideas. And to me, that's innovation right there. It's not always just coming from that one person. It's the mob, it's the room, which is fantastic.
Yeah, you know, and I've met a couple different people that I've interviewed from that conference. Jen Giffen,
Yep.
and also Jennifer Morgado. No, I'm getting them mixed up. I have a couple different. Jennifer Casa Todd was one. Yeah, she was also a keynote, and yep. Vicky Morgado. Sorry.
Yes, Vicky. Yep.
Those two. So again, and what I've loved about really making that connection, you know, kind of the international connection, is just to get a different perspective on what's going on, and you're all so tech savvy that it's really, you know, it's really kind of fun to, again, to make that connection and see what are you guys doing, and what, you know, how does that help and work and all that stuff. So yeah. And again, one of the big takeaways I took from your presentation is just that kind of home connection. Is you're not just walking the talk in a school, you're actually bringing a lot of that home, and your kids are certainly, I think, benefiting and showing that creativity happens in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, it's just not a, this is my job, this is my profession, this is what I do. I remember in a stanza, a lot of people say, like, your one statement where you say, making makes me happy. That's true. My daughter and I, we coded a TIE fighter pumpkin using a hummingbird kit, and that was the best time. And we had that experience. And that's what I hope everyone does, that it just doesn't stop at those 4 walls or that school bell, that it just continues going on.
Yeah. All right. Well, now it is time we're going to bring out the wheel of geekdom. I used to call it the speed geek questions, but we're going to kind of change things up, and you're going to be my first guinea pig, shall we say, and we're just going to kind of spin the wheel. I've got a bunch of questions that I usually ask for speed geek, but we can take a little more time with these, so we're not going to get too, they don't have to be super lightning fast.
I'm going to need more of this.
Yeah, yes, please get yourself. Oh, wait, you know what? I forgot. Before we do that, I want to talk to you about Kinders Who Code.
Oh, yeah.
And while we do that, let me bring that site up so everyone can see it, and then just maybe walk through what Kinders That Code is all about.
Okay, sure, definitely.
So go ahead and start talking, and I'll bring the
So Kinders
this
Who
thing.
Code was kind of a brainchild last year, and there was no major event that happened that said I want to do this. Because I kind of do all sorts of technology, which I think the people you interviewed too, that's what we are. We're almost like the MacGyvers of technology, where we see all sorts of different types of tech, and we're the ones that integrate it. Just talking with a couple of kindergarten teacher friends, they were just like, okay, so we take a lot of pictures, we do documentation, but what's out there that's cool? And you know, it's a lot of nice things we can say about the upper grades, that there's tons of cool stuff that we want to teach, but with the kinders, there wasn't so many things out there that they could definitely go beyond consumption. And that was my biggest thing, is that I want kids to have creativity time. And so it was kind of timely because Ontario came out with a new kindergarten program in 2016, which was more play-based learning. And so what I want to do is I want to take that, but actually introduce technology in the form of coding. And that's kind of where Kinders Who Code came. It's just not about that they can look at coding and play with toys. It's the fact that they are actually learning about coding, and they're learning about spatial sense, and they're learning how to count with measurement. We're working on fine motor skills. So I really wanted to dive in, and what I did was I created a program that started small, and I would go in with certain types of robotics like Ozabots, B-bots, but then I would also do lots of unplug coding. And to me, sometimes unplug coding is the most fun stuff, where you hand them Scratch Junior cards, or you just have them make commands and arrows and they code each other. And it turned out to be not just a huge learning experience, but it turned out to be a lot of fun. Um, the kinders, and we know if you've ever had a 3 or 4 year old in your house, you know that it's sometimes hard to keep their attention for them to learn new things. But when I introduced coding in the classes, it was fantastic. We would circulate through the groups. They would do amazing coding work that you would see grade 4, 5, and 6s do. It was just about giving kindergarten teachers a chance to realize, yes, you can do this. It is very possible. And for me, it was very important, being, you know, in Ontario, it was important for me to also align it with some expectations, because sometimes you just want a complete package that says, hey, you can do this, and here's the reason why, and here are the expectations that go along with it. To me, that's super important. So I actually sat with the math consultant, the early years consultant, and we went through and worked together to find the expectations that align with this. And the nice thing is, it's a platform where, you know, Christmas is amazing. All these new toys come out and all these new coding things come out. And I really want to dive in and see which ones are the flashy doodads that are fun to play with, and which ones actually teach mathematic expectations. So that's kind of where it came from. And the more I did things, the more I dived in. And there's been activities that actually didn't work. So, and I didn't necessarily put them on the website, but I've tried different things, and, you know, and I asked them. It's amazing. Or sorry, 3 and 4 year olds, they're pretty honest. And when you say, how did you like that? Well, I didn't like it. I'm like, okay. So it's been really well received. I'm extremely busy in kindergarten now. And, you know, I have the utmost respect for kindergarten teachers. I honestly applaud them. I have no idea how they do what they do day in and day out, because, and I know so when I say down here, I'm actually in my home in the US now. Down here, there are caps and limits to how many kids can be in a class. Typically in our kindergarten classes now, you have a kindergarten teacher and an ECE, which is an early childhood educator, and there's typically almost 30 kids in that class. So, you know what? The bravest of souls would not even attempt to go into that classroom, and these teachers do it day in and day out. So I wanted to give them something that could be modern and they could run with it. And even though I love going to the classrooms, I wanted to give them something that if they wanted to do it on their own, they totally could. So that's kind of how Kinders Who Code came around.
Well, the website's really great. We're going to share it in the show notes to make sure that people get it, because there's a lot of great resources. And what I like about it is it's really well organized. It's not too overwhelming in each of the topics. And I think each topic you have highlighted there is really pretty relevant and trendy.
Yeah, and I think people need to know too, even though like I'm a tech integrator, I've only been coding for 2 to 3 years. I am not a computer science major, and I think that's why a lot of people have gravitated to this because they don't see me as that high level coder, which many of my friends are, and they're amazing, and I wish I could do that. But I really need that Blockly style program, and then it just translates into what the kids can do. So perhaps I'm just one of those kindergartens myself, learning how to do all this.
Okay, well, now it is time to do our Wheel of Geekdom. So
All
we're
right, here we
gonna
go.
give it a spin here, and we'll. I think probably for brevity's sake, I'll just spin the wheel, and we'll go with as many as we can here.
All right, I'll zoom them out.
All right, question number one is, what is the big tech trend to watch for? What are you looking at, or what do you think is going to be the next big wave?
So I think a couple waves have already happened. Ever since Pokemon Go, augmented reality and VR is really gaining steam. Not so much because it wasn't there before, but now it's kind of coming down on our level. That we can now integrate in the classroom, like using things like CoSpaces is really great, where they get to code and then they get to see their world in the goggles. But then at the same time, all that is like huge tech stuff. But what I really love is that things are getting simpler. Like, not that you can't code more, but like if you look like the microbits, it's not about all the flashy gizmos, all this stuff. It's about the kids creating stuff. And I think tech companies are catching on to that because you see companies selling more things that you were able to program and do. So I think that's kind of, we have two different ways. We get the crazy AR, VR up here, which I love, but then we have the more getting more to basics and letting the kids create and code themselves.
All right. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that is going to be a hot trend coming up, and I think we're just hitting just the tip of the iceberg on that.
Definitely.
All right. Question number two is, what's your favorite social network?
That's pretty obvious because I get in trouble and have to have a do not disturb on at a certain time from my wife. I am definitely a Twitter fan. Um, really going with Twitter. It's been my go-to network, not just for tweeting things out, but I really learn a lot from the people that I follow. To the point where I did have a coding problem, I couldn't make it work, and I tweeted it out, and in 30 seconds I had 5 responses. And I'm not even going to name the people that helped me because it was a Friday night, and that's really disappointing that we were all home tweeting and getting help coding something. Although 2 people did say that they were out, which makes it even worse. But yeah, Twitter is my bread and butter, and I just want to use that to learn more about what I'm doing, but also show the world what the kids are doing in education too.
All right. Yeah, Twitter is definitely one that I think for professional development is.
Hey, buddy.
I told you. I was hoping to do this at work, but all right, this one's just for you. What's your whimsy? Star Wars, Star Trek, or Harry Potter,
Oh
or
man.
name your own? Name something different.
All right, so I have a couple whimsies. I'm sure people aren't surprised. I do like the Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. And I will say it was the first books that I read, and Harry Potter was kind of the first book I started reading as a new teacher, which is really cool that was coming out as I was getting into teaching. And then when you translate the books, I feel like they really captured it in the movies. If you play the Harry Potter theme song from the movies, I will get tingles on my arms because they captured that magic and that essence and the landscapes, everything that you pictured probably in your head through the books was exactly there. And then, of course, obviously, I'll just lift up a little bit. I do have some known issues with superheroes. So, you know, I just like, I don't know, it's just stuff that makes you think and that just takes you to a different point in life, I guess, that it just kind of takes you away from what we're dealing with here. And just for a couple hours, you get to be free of that.
All right, next question. And you know, there was a great point about Harry Potter, and one you don't really hear all that much is that they really did do a great job of even just the cast looked so much
Yep.
like what you pictured. It's a real
Yeah.
rarity where you see that, and you know, I think it actually enhanced the books, kind of, you know, to really kind of visualize that on your own, and then to see it, I think was
Yeah.
really amazing.
And what I love is I actually worked with some people 2 weeks ago, and we actually made the Harry Potter frames using a green screen. And they were talking in the picture, and they had actors out front. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're making Harry Potter right now. And then they said, oh, the movies? I'm like, yeah, but it's a book too.
Okay. So your next question is, what's your favorite app?
All right. So it's interesting because being a Chrome person, there's lots of good apps there. But I think my favorite one when I go into schools is definitely Do Ink, which is a green screen app, which of course I just mentioned, and that's what we use. For $2.99, you get this app, you give it to a student, and then you go to the dollar store and you buy the green plastic tablecloths and hang that up. So for under $5, these students were making green screen movies with special effects. They would get green screen effects from YouTube, put that into their movie, and in less than an hour, they had a green screen movie. So I think that's my favorite because it's just pure creativity. When the kids see you can put anything on the screen behind you, or you can put a tablecloth around you and you're a floating head, they're in. And so like the literacy connections that they get from that one little app, fantastic. It's probably my favorite one out of everything I use.
Wow, that's a good one. I'm gonna have to check that one out. I haven't really used that one, so good tip. All right, let's go with at least one more here. Let's see.
All right.
What's your favorite way to unplug from technology?
We're definitely hikers. We like the outdoors. We like getting outside. We're lucky enough we live on a creek that leads to the Niagara River, so we will have coffee down there. We're very much a nature type family. It's funny that you say unplug because one of the things we love to do while we're hiking is actually go geocaching. And of course, we need the GPS or the phone to go geocaching. But yeah, it's amazing how a 1 hour hike turns into a 4 hour hike, no matter how cold it is or rainy it is, because the kids are looking for buried treasure and we're looking for things in orienteering. And we did as a family, we went to Nova Scotia to Cape Breton, and the hiking there was the best I've ever seen in my lifetime. So I think the unplug is definitely getting back to nature and just going for a walk and smelling that air.
Yeah, it's really important to get that every once in a
Yeah,
while,
for
especially in
sure.
today's society where you're so involved. So let's go with
Yeah.
one more here.
All right.
And are you a gamer? And what's your game?
So now I'm scared of actual gamers because I don't actually game on the computer. I am a PlayStation 4 guy. Um, and besides getting shot by 10-year-olds back in the day, now what I do is I really like the story adventure games. So games like Tomb Raider or Uncharted, where there's like a story and then there's, and then you always laugh because like seriously, there's like a 2,000-year-old tomb waiting to be discovered and no one's discovered it yet. Come on, So I like those Indiana Jones type discovery stories, but you got to have a good storyline or else you lose me pretty quick. It's not just about shooting the bow and arrows and doing art. There's got to be those good quests because I'm definitely coming from the Legend of Zelda days. So I like my storyline. I like to engage in what's happening and see, and it comes back to Lord of the Rings too. I like look at that graphic designer that took like 5 weeks to make that one piece of thing happen. That's what I really like about gaming.
Well, you know, it's interesting you said that because I think that's blending into, I think, the future that we talked about before, like a future technology, which is VR. And, you know, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of interactive television. I mean, now we've got the binge watching television with
Yeah.
Netflix, but I think I don't know if you've seen what HBO is doing with Mosaic, but it's a way to like tell a story and you can kind of choose your adventure, like which direction you want to go with it. And then within the video itself, there's embedded, you know, news clippings, you know, alternate videos. So I think that's a pretty exciting way to go. And what made me kind of make that connection was what you were talking about with the game and the narrative. And, I think maybe those high-powered narratives really are storytelling at its highest form. So I think we're going to really start blending those together in theater and video.
Yeah, definitely. I think people have to they have to step up their game. Like we don't want to consume something that's going to waste hours of our lives, and if it doesn't have a good storyline, and I'll be the first one to admit I was one of those Stranger Things waiting for it to come out, and I loved it because of the story. It was a great story, and of course, 80s kid, of course. But
Yeah, me
I
too.
I think authors and storytellers, it's hard to be original now. So you really got to bring in your viewer as a participant now into that storyline.
Agreed. Agreed. Okay, Kyle. Well, thank you so much for your time. Before you go, what's the best way to connect with you?
Definitely through Twitter at the Kyle Kitchen, best name we can come up with, and yeah, feel free to add me, share things, and that's the thing with I try and promote with Twitter. Yeah, look at what I do, but please, if you have other ideas, send them to me. I like to say we're all open source. No one is ever the expert ever. We're always learning too.
Right.
So yeah, Twitter is definitely the way to get a hold of me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and stay
Right.
warm and safe, and have a
You
good
too.
holiday season. We'll see
All
you in
right.
person, I'm sure, soon.
All right, buddy. Take care. Thanks.